designed to go ahead and keep any kind of wind-driven rain out from underneath your eave systems. Good news is you do have this 2-inch by 2-inch metal flange. Bad news is in some places, and I'll show you that here in a little bit later, where it's actually pulled out and it needs to be addressed. Next thing we want to point out is a pretty consistent set of granules calling from your actual roofing system into your gutter system. This is telling us the age, wear, and tear of the roof, and I am seeing it pretty consistent throughout your system. So something that we want to point out. Next thing we want to look for is any kind of sign or indicators of anything called hail damage or scalding hits, where hail or ice water has hit the shingle, dislodging the granules, showing that fiberglass under matting underneath. You'll actually see a couple of these spots that I'm pointing out here to you, which are sign and indicators. All in all, on the top of this roof, you do have a good ventilation, so I do want to say that's looking good, but as a whole, almost every piece of this ventilation here, I'm basically seeing areas where water can migrate. So my biggest concern here on the top of the roof is going to be sealing all of this up. And of course, I'm seeing a ton of thermal cracking. I'll talk about that a little bit further on the next part of this video. Good morning. Now we're here on the lower level of 654 Grimson. Just want to go ahead and show you a couple things that we did find out here on the bottom level of the roof as well. Most importantly, we did mark up some spots here on the roof that I want to point out to you. I know at the beginning of the video I mentioned to you that your drip edge, that 2-inch by 2-inch metal flange designed by code to stop any kind of wind-driven rain from coming in here. So if you look at this, obviously it's not completely flat against the fascia board that it needs to be, but furthermore, more of an issue is this felt paper I see here. This is definitely no longer code. This is something that is easily rippable. That's your underlayment underneath here, and that's something that we would want to replace with a synthetic underlayment. Other than that, a couple things I want to point out. Down here you can see that you have this flashing, designed of course to keep any kind of rain or any kind of moisture to getting from underneath that shingle system here. Unfortunately, yours is raised up quite a bit. It's just a great place for water to migrate. I see this in a couple of places as well. Just to point out another spot over here. Other than that, I am seeing what's called thermal cracking. What this is basically heat blistering, lack of good ventilation. And I'm going to try to get a close-up view of what I'm talking about here. If you take a quick look here, you can kind of see that cracking. Again, this is just a sign of wear and tear on the roof, telling us that it is time for a new roofing system. Lastly, I want to point out to you, down here it looks like there was a simple repair created for around this vent. Specifically, it looks like they used some kind of flex seal. The proper way when we re-roof this roof is to go ahead and put what's called ice and water. It's a synthetic underlayment with a self-sealing adhesive that'll make sure that no water can migrate underneath there and take care of that completely for you. Other than that, I appreciate your time. I am seeing a lot of places here, such as this, that do need to be sealed with something water resistant, specifically anytime you see these nail heads. So that's just another issue I want to point out. As a whole, it's a great time to start planning for your new roof. Appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing us to come and take a quick inspection.